School District of River Falls. This meeting has been properly notified, and we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one visitor who has registered to speak, so Wayne Rowan, please.
Thank you.
You may stand up here, and then there's a microphone right on the table that will catch you.
Facing where?
You're sort of facing us.
Okay.
This may be the middle, cut your difference, yeah.
Put the cameras up there. Okay, and I hope you'll forgive the scripted comments. I know Stacy runs a tight ship and there's a 2-minute, so I
That's right.
was extra cautious. So, good evening, my name is Wayne Rowan. I'm a 19-year resident of the city of River Falls, and I reside in the River Falls School District. I'm a recently retired 3M executive, and my wife Chris and I are the proud parents of 4 daughters, the youngest 2 graduating from the River Falls school system. They have both gone on to become successful professionals and happy contributing members of society, so I'm grateful for the educational experience they received here, which enabled that success. Thank you. Late last year, I was appointed to the position of St. Croix County Supervisor in District 10, which overlaps with the northern portion of the River Falls School District. My appointment was to backfill a vacancy created on the county board when Dave Osnes resigned last year. Many of you know Dave as a dedicated public servant who held that supervisor position in the District 10 for many years, and I'm grateful for his dedication and service to River Falls. I was thrilled for the opportunity to represent my St. Croix County neighbors, and I will be standing for election in April. Activities at the county board often go under the radar, so I am visiting with local organizations to communicate the changes in representation that have taken place and my commitment to effectively represent District 10. This commitment includes strong support of public education and the dedicated professionals helping our children be successful. I look forward to the chance of working with the River Falls School Board as opportunities arise in advancing our public education, and I'll be around after the meeting if anyone would like to talk. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. You've come to a group of people who also value public service, so thank you for yours. All right, we are going to move on to informational items, and the first one, which is always fun, will be Wildcat Pride.
It's the best part of the meeting. So I'd like to call up Barb Colpin and Dennis Ireland. Come on up.
Well, I didn't want Ben Jacob not to have me, so.
Well, yeah, I get it. I appreciate that. On behalf of the school board, we extend our gratitude and appreciation for your support of our school forest. Through your dedication to enhancing the land, including tree planting and road clearing, the school forest has grown into a vibrant outdoor learning environment. From acquiring certifications to working directly with students outside organizations, our efforts have created opportunities for students and community members of all ages and abilities. Your willingness to share your time, resources, and knowledge has been instrumental in helping the school forest thrive and grow in both purpose and potential. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do to make this invaluable resource possible. You are true ambassadors of Wildcat Pride.
Well, none of this is possible without the support of these guys back here. They are just wonderful. They're the ones who are closer to the students than we are. And I am so grateful that whenever I come up with some wild ideas, can we do this? Or I heard that somebody else is doing this, or I know somebody who can do this, then they don't run the other way. Even though they might want to sometimes, but it's worth it for the kids. We've had, over 1,000 to 2,000 kids.
We had about 1,000 kids out in the fall, and we've had our first winter field trip.
Yeah.
And we've got some coming in for the spring.
And it's such a great thing for our kids, but also the university is now doing, UW River Falls is one of their classes, 2 of their different classes are working with us. One on some landscaping And I'm writing a grant for that. And then another class is actually doing an assessment of the whole property for one of their classes. And so it's a full-time thing for them. I mean, it's a full class work for them. So it's really gratifying, the partnerships that we've been able to put together and how everybody's always willing to say, sure, I want to try that and let's do it. And then the kids are the beneficiaries. Both the college kids and the high school, or the grade school kids. The Renaissance Academy are best tree planters. Honest to gosh. You know, I panicked last year when he was sick and, you know, I said, how are we gonna get all these trees planted? Because he gave us some of his. And it's like, they were just about done before lunch. And, you know, so everybody continues to amaze me all the time.
Nice.
From the Renaissance kids to the little ones to the high schoolers to.
Great. You both have a very long history of being incredible supporters for the school district in a great variety of ways. So we thank you on behalf
Well,
of
I looked at this, it says, over the years, our, you know, school forest over the years, it's a young school forest.
Well, Barb, but you were there to do a
Yeah, I
whole
was
lot of
there in, like,
foundational work in order to
1989.
get access
I
to
got
it.
sold on the
So it has
school
been for
forest.
years, so. But as I said before, we don't have very many people who bring a cheering crowd. So that's what you have with Nate and Michaela and Lauren over here to be with you for this honor. So thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I should have just said everything.
So,
But you can tell that
Do you need
it's
Bo in the
something.
picture too?
yes, get
Oh,
going.
they're
Yeah.
over. You want the other people in the picture too?
Yeah, how about the
Oh,
crew?
the whole board, huh?
Well, Nate will take it.
How do we do this? I don't bite.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Let's not joke about it. All right. Thank you. All right, well, this is also a great meeting to come to because we get treats when the food service.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Very
Very
much
much appreciate it.
When Pat comes and he always brings us treats, so do you also have something to tell us about?
He has his slides.
Thank you.
It's a really good way to start the meeting, by the way. Cookies every time, I'm for it.
Yes,
I've been told.
amen to that.
So, again, thank you for a few minutes. I wanted to just give you an update of kind of where we are, what we've been doing, and what is yet to come. As you can see on the monitor right now, some quick things. Yes, enrollment is down, but our participation across the district in meals is up. So, percentage-wise, with less kids, we're feeding more kids, which is good. I think it tells us that what we're offering them, they like. They do get to make the decision to eat or not eat, and the more kids we feed, that tells us, the better we're doing. Ideally, we want to feed them all if we can, but we know, that's not quite the way it works. Breakfast count is up substantially, almost 10 points in the elementary schools. Lunch participations are kind of even. We are seeing less à la carte purchases, less cash sales. And I think the economic times are telling us that a little bit. Families are tighter on the budget. We are also seeing that more kids are eating. We have 2 fruits and 2 vegetables every day offered at every school at least. And we're seeing more kids taking more fruits and vegetables every day, meaning they're filling their tray more. And I think part of that is, again, they're taking advantage more of what we have to offer. Again, maybe in some cases because maybe they do in other places. Inflation is definitely affecting our bottom line. We did do a price increase this last year, and Lynette and I, we've talked, we're gonna see where we wind up this year and what we need to do. Nothing has gotten cheaper. and some things have gotten a lot more expensive. And what you see at the grocery store is the same things we see. Labor is a challenge to try and be competitive with the market out there, and yet work in a nonprofit situation, which is what we are. We don't run this to make a profit, we run it to stay sustainable, is a challenge. But as you'll come down to some of the things we've done so far this year, we have had 0 staff turnover this year, which I feel very proud about. Part of that is finding the right people and then making the right environment for them that they want to stay. So I'm very happy with that. Some new things, new concepts that we have been running at the high school, but we introduced at the middle school, which was a stretch for them. The Noodle Bowl, which is like a cross between pho or ramen, and the kids get to build that themselves. It's a huge success. The largest day we've seen at the middle school in about 3 years.
Wow.
So again, giving them new things and they're open to it, which is great. The same thing with the pork carnitas bowl, and both of those are scratch cooking stuff that we've done. And the pictures, I'll allow you the opportunity to look at the pictures that you have in your presentation, just for some time. We did an indigenous foods menu at the elementary schools this year, which was new, where we tried to come up with recipes and foods that were traditional to this region several hundred years ago. Grains, squash, pumpkins, different things like that. We didn't do venison, that doesn't fit in the budget, and other things like that, but doing what we can, where we can with those. And it was fun. It was, that day again, we promoted it, and it was a very big success. We saw a good turnout of students coming in to try to do different things. Some promotions we've been doing so far this year, scratch-made cooking with Chili Days, Warm Bellies, where we're doing chili on baked potatoes, on hot dogs, and then just chili as chili. And again, rather than buying cooked meat, our ladies are committed to try to do the extra effort to cooking that stuff for us as we go. We have added more retail options to the middle school and the high school. We haven't seen the sales increase on that because, again, our a la carte sales are down a little bit. I think that's because people's budgets are tighter. We've been baking 100% of our sub rolls at the middle school and the high school. It does cost us a little bit more to do that, actually, than buying them just fully processed. But we're going to see if we can try to keep doing that. We have been purchasing lettuce from the horticulture department at the high school. Mr. Pahacek's Grow Towers makes some beautiful stuff. And it's to the point where his volume, there we go. Thank you.
I knew there was
I can't do 3 things at once, which is run this and talk and stay straight. And if you look at the pictures, it's to the point where the volume that they can grow and the quality that they can grow, I said to him, rather than me buying, I can get it from you, and we should compensate you, which helps feed his program. So it's really a great relationship with that. There are lots of changes coming this year with the new administration as far as USDA regulation guidelines. Chartwells is already, just so you know, ready for that. We're actually ahead of that stuff. And a lot of that is lower sugar, lower fats, lower sodium, and starting to eliminate, in some cases, anything that is unnatural as far as dyes and flavorings, going to more natural, which is all great for our students. So far this year, I have done 12 hours of classroom education with the 6th graders at the middle school. Last year we did a focus at the Montessori, and the 2 years before that I worked with Greenwood. This year we found with Mrs. Z at the middle school, and we're still have some more of that coming. And again, going in and talking to the kids, letting them sample different foods, talking to them about those things and getting them to try new ideas. I said we've had 0 staff turnover since the beginning of the year, which I'm very proud of. And for the last 2.5 years, we have managed to not have any accidents that have caused any loss of time or any hospitalization.
Nice.
That, to me, as much as anything, is a commitment of our teams to be safe and be smart and get the job done. Accidents happen, but I like to say, not with our ladies and gentlemen. They really go out of their way. Some things yet to come. Starting next week, we're doing National School Breakfast Week. We'll be promoting a lot of things. As we always say, the Some people give me sometimes a hard time, why are you serving Lucky Charms and Cocoa Puffs? Well, did you know it's 25% less sugar than what you buy at the grocery store? And it's 100% whole grain, with no artificial dyes or colors or things like that. So the answer, or the question that we should be asking is, why aren't they serving that at the grocery store? But we're gonna be promoting that along with some scratch cooking, and the fact, fresh juices, or not fresh juice, but fruits and juices and things like that throughout it. We've got a Mood Boost partnership. I've made a connection with Patax that when we do our spring Mood Boost, we haven't worked all the details out, but Pat said that they are very interested, and he says he wants that we will do it, where the students may be able to then take a recipe card into Patax with certain items each week and get a discount on that item, or that they'll have some new fun items for them. So again, getting it where kids can try new foods in the school and then maybe take that recipe card and go home and introduce it to their family, which again, if you know Patax, they're awesome about doing things like that. And we're starting some lucky tray days at the elementary schools again, just for fun. Give kids a prize of some Mood Boost wristbands or different things like that that have generated a lot of excitement. And again, anytime, sometimes we can get kids excited about the lunchroom, which they already are, because if it's not the tater tots or the hot dogs, it's the recess that comes afterwards. But we'll take them any way we can. And again, any questions?
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for what you folks do. And again, if you ever have questions, you know where we are, and we appreciate your time.
As always, thank you for being here.
Thank
But
you.
even
Thanks,
more
Pat.
to the point, Pat, we really appreciate your dedication to our students. The
Yeah.
fact that you are
Yes.
doing the scratch cooking, the nutrition, going into classrooms, involving kids.
It's
Extra
fantastic.
stuff that makes a really big difference, and you and your team do a great job on that, so thank you.
Thank you. It's
Thank you
fun.
very much.
It's fun.
Well, we can tell, because your enthusiasm shines through, so thank you.
Thanks. Have a
Stacey,
good night.
can I
Yes.
just add a couple things?
Absolutely,
So
please.
besides serving students, like Pat and his team are always more than willing to cater meetings and lunches and all kinds of things around the district, so feeding our staff as well. I mean, Pat's, probably the most common word I hear from him is yes. Like, he's always saying yes to going above and beyond and providing that for all of us. So thank you to you and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us
Thanks for
do
being
it
here
for you.
tonight. Okay, we are going to move on to some reports, and the first one will be a WIG update from our elementary team.
We didn't bring snacks, so we're already
Yeah.
Sorry, I was being served cookies. You might have to turn it on.
Am I starting this? Take it away, Kai. Let's introduce ourselves.
Oh, because they don't know us.
Yeah, not that you haven't seen us 100 times. Rachel
Oh, the
Maynard,
camera
West Side
light,
Elementary, yes, to those watching.
Yes.
Ashley Bingenheimer, Rocky Branch Principal.
Kai Rogers, Montessori principal.
Kate Scapel, Greenwood Principal.
So thank you for having us back to give you an update on our wildly important goal. And as you know, we developed this goal for the 24-25 school year, but it's a 3-year goal, so we are actually exactly halfway through our goal. I figured that one out today. So we're kind of excited about that. There's lots of changes and lots of good things to talk about today. So in review, our goal is up on the board. That 100% of our students will be proficient or exceed their yearly growth goal in foundational reading skills as measured by the grade level screening assessment by the spring of 2027. So with that, we've designed our lead measures as a team to support this goal. And we've reviewed those a lot with you. And here is our lead measures. So, but the first 2 columns we've actually just gone through in the fall with you, talking about just the things that we're doing in our buildings and also the tracking systems for our own accountability, our cadence of accountability. So those things have not really changed, but what I would like to focus on is kind of the mid-year updates for us that kind of speak to the new things going on. So, first, we are still doing professional development for our staff in the science of reading. So most of our staff members, all of our staff members have finished their top 10 tools trainings. And we're still doing more kind of ongoing training during our staff meetings, in-service days, that sort of thing. Most recently, the 3 elementaries, not mine because we did it last year, did a talk with the Minnesota Reading Center just about dyslexia and just kind of that early identification and just kind of really how that can manifest in students in different ways. So just a lot of good information about some of the things that we don't necessarily see as products of dyslexia that, you know, were kind of new for teachers. So just kind of giving that base in terms of what a day in the life of a child with dyslexia can look like, and how that can be very different depending on the child. So that happened. Also just for meeting date. So just implementing and monitoring our collective commitments. This year we had 2 dates on our calendars so that the grade level PLC teams could really kind of talk about assessments and their collective commitments and really kind of dive into their data and all things that kind of kept that momentum going and kind of reflecting on what they've been doing and moving forward. It looks a little bit different at Montessori, so I'm not going to speak to that a lot. But also then working with NextPath with our emphasis on our data literacy to kind of combine, because we have our AimsWeb data and then we have NextPath, which is our new platform that kind of is a warehouse for all of our student test scores. We're having a really hard time, well, I shouldn't say a really hard time. It's been challenging to get the scores and the things that we've wanted in a way that makes sense for our teachers so that they can access their data in an intentional way and use it effectively. Mm-hmm. Rachel's going to speak more to that just because she's working on this.
So when we created this school, we were using FastBridge, and FastBridge reporting looks a lot different than AimsWeb. Both screeners give us pretty similar information, but the data reports we could put in the hands of teachers felt way more user-friendly with FastBridge. So when we created this school, we were really focused on growth because the growth reports embedded in FastBridge are really great. AimsWeb just doesn't have them. When we were at CISA last week, we talked with 2 of the consultants who are kind of experts in AimsWeb Plus. They confirmed the reality that they don't exist, and so I'm working alongside Amy Wise with NextPath to try and mimic those reports in NextPath. We've done, AimsWeb provides us with a rate of improvement for each student, but it depends on their initial percentile in the fall to target their growth goal in terms of a number for the entire year. So it's personalized for each student, which is great. But when there's a report that's not pulling that, you have teachers that sit and hand tabulate that for 25 students. You can imagine the demand that takes. So we're working to get more user-friendly reports in the hands of our teachers now that we know for sure they don't exist. We have a next step to create them in a way that feels user-friendly for them. So that's been a bit of an uplift or a lift just because we thought that we would have it and we don't. So we have a solution, it's in progress, but in year 2, that's been something we've really tried to refine.
And then to kind of piggyback on that, we're also, you know, data literacy has been a big kind of foundational element that we've all tried to kind of increase in our staff when they're looking at all of these numbers. A hard part about that also is just when we're doing our intervention and support planning, when we don't have the exact tools that are accessible for teachers. So this year we implemented a new data dig process for our teachers, including a spreadsheet that kind of gives them a chance to walk through each child and their scores in an intentional way so that every teacher at every level is kind of doing the same process to make sure that we aren't missing any students or that we're really identifying and targeting intervention support for every child. So that I feel like has gone really well at my building. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling like that was a big boost from last year and where we were at. So that's what we got so far.
This screen shows a so those were our administrative lead measures. This is a snapshot of some of our grade level lead measures. So these are practices that teachers have chosen to implement that will hopefully impact their lag data. And Kai mentioned the collective commitment. So over the summer, Amy Wise worked with coaches and teams of teachers to create curriculum, collective commitments to make sure that all of our buildings are in sync on certain pieces of our implementation of collaborative literacy. So a lot of teams kind of took that document and used it to create their initial LEAD measures. And then these can change over the course of the year if they get to a point where they feel like they've kind of like mastered this or have moved past it. Teams have the flexibility to add or change their LEAD measures as well. And then for some accountability, we, at least at Rocky Branch, I think the other schools also weave it into BLT in different ways. So have certain grade level teams report out at BLT how things are going with their LEAD measure. Also during PLCs on Thursday, we have like a grounding piece that's also just, the team should just do a quick check-in on their LEAD measure, where they're at. And then in the fall, spent a little bit more time this year, since it was our second year, talking about how they are monitoring that impact. So last year, as a first year, it was like, choose a LEAD measure, pick something. And the focus was just like getting into collaborative, implementing something, feeling good about doing some fidelity. And then this year, it's more like, okay, if your LEAD measure is that you want to implement skill-based small groups in Unit 2, what also is the way that you're measuring the impact of that at some point in the year, so we know if it was effective or not, and if it's time to move on. So still working on that a little bit, but that was a goal for this year as well.
All right, so now we've got the numbers slide. So the far left column is what we shared with you in the fall. And if you remember, we were like, this makes us a little nervous because these numbers are quite high, right? And Ames Web had just done their renorming. And so we were kind of like, we have 90% of kindergartners where they should be. That's great. But where are they going to be at in the winter and then in the spring? You can see that the percentages on the far right are slightly lower in grades K through 2. 3 through 5 had some growth, so that's a move in the right direction. Some of the things that we think about when we look at this is, one, this is the 25th percentile and above. We do not deem that as proficient. When we wrote this WIG, as Rachel alluded to, Act 20 was hot off the presses, we really didn't have all the answers from the state, but we wanted to align this goal as much with that as possible to make sure that we aren't talking different languages throughout the year. So as a 3-year goal, we're maintaining that so we can see the growth. However, we don't just serve kids who are below the 25th percentile. We definitely have processes in place to work with students. Anyone below the 40th percentile is receiving some level of additional support in reading. We're just using this as it relates to Act 20. So what you'll see in the second column, proficient at mid-year, that's the number or percentage of students who are at or above the 25th percentile. And then the next column is that exceeded growth goal at mid-year. So as Rachel shared, growth in Ames Web is not super easy to find. We wrote that goal when we were in Fastbridge, and they hadn't decided what our new system was going to be yet. So when this came out, we were told it was going to be measured. We now know that it for sure is not. However, what they do provide us is a student growth percentile. And what we know about growth is that it's not exactly linear. So when you measure in the winter, you're not saying, oh, you're halfway through the year, you should be halfway grown by now. Okay? We know that they might have a burst in the spring. Maybe their burst was from fall to winter. But we do still use it as a checkpoint, so it's still valid data. So what that means is any student who's at the 50th percentile for growth is growing at a normal pace, is what the percentiles would tell us. So those numbers are any students who were 55th percentile or higher on their mid-year data. So you'll see that those students may be, those students are below the 25th percentile, but they are on track to make more than a year's worth of growth, which is what we want. If they are below that 25th percentile, we want them to grow more than a year so they can start to catch up. So that's why we added that into our goal, so that we can make sure that we are accounting for all the kiddos and all the work that they're putting into it. I know personally at Greenwood, I have a couple of kiddos that were below the 25th percentile, 99th percentile for growth. They are just like shooting up like a rocket.
So that's not like 3 kindergartners exceeded growth, it's 3 of the ones who were not proficient exceeded their growth.
Yep.
We can double count them if they were
Correct.
above proficiency.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you were reading, for the benefit of the people who are watching on TV too, I'm sure there's tons of them. But if you're reading across the top line and you're looking at kindergartners, you're saying 97% are proficient in the fall. And proficient means above the 25th percentile. And that's, we're talking of everyone who's taken the test?
Correct.
Anywhere in the 25th percentile,
Yes.
above that
Yep.
percentile. So 97% of the kids in kindergarten are above the
We're above.
above
Yep.
that, and so 3% are below or
Yep.
in that lower quartile. And then that changed mid-year to 91%, but again, the norming changed to
Yep.
whatever. And 3 of those kids who are in the lower quartile exceeded
Are trending towards making more than a year's worth of growth.
more than a year's worth of growth, okay. And then proficient mid-year, we're looking at the same thing there.
So that's just a total.
8% of them are in that lower quartile.
Yes. Yep.
I do want to add to this too, we're reporting these numbers to you, but I know at least in my building, we also looked at students who are proficient but are exceeding growth, because something we've talked a lot about is if you're in the 95th percentile all the time, you also deserve to grow at high levels. And so we don't have that reported here because we didn't know how to summarize that nicely, but we
Yeah.
do know that it's important that even though students are proficient, we also want to ensure that they continue to grow. We don't want them to be stagnant at the 80th percentile because they deserve to reach high levels as well.
Right.
So staff were digging into that data in our buildings in different ways through our data dig process. It's just not reported here on this slide.
And
That was
Mark
one
is
of-
also working with special ed case managers too, to look at their caseloads and where their students are falling with their growth.
Thank you for clarifying that. That was one of my questions, because I know that work is happening, and I know we are committed to all students, and sometimes it can get lost, when we're looking at this data time after time when you come. So thank you for making that point.
Yeah, we just don't want to
and
give you a
reaffirming our
false report of
commitment
like
to all
180% of kids are proficient or exceeding
Yes.
growth, because that feels really confusing. So with the 25th percentile cutoff, that's how we bucket it, but we're definitely trying to make sure we're pushing teachers, really leaning into the PLC process to say, how are we pushing our kids who need enrichment as well?
Thank you.
Anything else on that?
No? Okay, I'm good. All right, so as Kate said, this is a new slide. We just wanted to break down a little bit for you what the support looks like for our students who are either on personal reading plans through Act 20 or, as Kate mentioned, up to the 40th percentile, sometimes even above that. In terms of proficiency, we feel like the 25th percentile is just low. It doesn't feel like that's the only students we want to serve, and really we consider the students from the 25th to the 40th percentile kind of at risk or bubble kids that we know one test score could bump them back down to the 15th percentile. So we're trying to ensure that in all of our buildings, we're supporting through at least the 40th percentile on their assessments, if not higher. So I wanted to lay out some of the interventions that we're using. They're used kind of at different capacities, but SIPS is our highest level of intervention support. This is the resource that pairs with collaborative literacy that our Title I reading interventionists are trained in. Julie at the Montessori is also trained, but UFly seems to be a better fit with the Montessori resource, so she kind of goes back and forth depending on the needs of the student. But you'll see students typically between the 0 and 10th percentile at minimum are the ones who are served by that SIPS intervention resource. Depending again on the grade level and the need and the building, you may see students in the 35th percentile also being served through that intervention support. But really we ensure that that goes to the highest level of need in our buildings as who gets that SIPS resource. And it's 5 days a week for 30 minutes that they have that dosage. Kind of the next level of support that we see for students, this is typically students from the 20 to 30 or 35th percentile is reading core. So those are tutors that are kind of held in our building that we house and we support as much as we can through our coaches and our reading interventionists, but is actually kind of an extra program that we've applied to through a grant to have this person in the building. So they work exclusively with grades K through 3. Those are 20 minutes, either one-on-one or one-on-2 sessions, but they're really targeted skills. So SIPS kind of focuses on everything, high frequency words, phonemic awareness, their ability to read and decode, where in reading core it's one specific thing. So either just fluency or just phonemic awareness. So we can target pretty intentionally with the students who have that kind of next level of need. UFly I talked about a little bit, but that is similar to SIPS, it's just not tied directly to our current reading curriculum, so we consider that supplemental, but focuses a lot on phonics, high frequency words and fluency. We see this used in some special education classrooms as well. We're working on trying to train some of our paraprofessionals. Our coaches have been trained and are reading interventionists as well.
And I'll say, add on to that, that actually UFly like matches up with the Montessori reading curriculum. We have, Montessori specific scope and sequence of how we deliver language. And UFly actually is a direct fit. So our teachers during their PLC process and their curriculum days have kind of aligned the lessons in UFly to the Montessori lessons so that we can see where that overlap is. So if a child is receiving lessons from their teacher using the Montessori materials, then there's that discussion between the interventionist about how then we should be on this lesson in UFly, and it's a direct fit. So super cool.
6-minute solutions is a repeated reading, so it's fluency practice. When you look at the scores from the slide previous and see kind of that boost in 3, 4, 5, we're looking exclusively at ORF when we're reporting data to you. We know that's one measure in grades 3, 4, and 5. We struggle a bit with that with Act 20, that our 3rd grade readers' proficiency is just on that one measure, so we try and look comprehensive. But I would say a celebration this year has been that we've seen 6-minute solutions, which is a quick practice with some comprehension questions, used a lot in our upper grade classrooms to boost that oral reading fluency score for our higher grade level learners. And so I think that's part of the reason we've seen that boost, is this is a quick support that teachers are kind of using for the first time, because fluency doesn't always feel the most important, especially in 4th and 5th grade. And then lastly, again, to ensure that we're supporting to at least the 40th percentile, sometimes our classroom teachers will do higher doses of small group tier 2 support in the classroom. So our small group sets are how phonics, high frequency words, and decoding skills are taught in grades K2. We can extend that into 3rd grade with a paraprofessional or classroom teacher. But then in grades 3 through 5, we use what's called IDR, that independent daily reading time, to do one-on-one conferring. So again, if a student is at that 30 to 40th percentile, they may receive a higher dosage of that conferring, whether it's they check in with the classroom teacher and a paraprofessional once a week, or they see the teacher twice a week and a book club. It kind of looks different depending on the need of the student and the capacity of the teacher, but really ensuring that there is some layer of support for those students, even though they haven't been notified or dinged by Act 20. And then I think we've addressed a lot of these things, but just wanted to make sure we summarized kind of the obstacles that we talked about in the fall with Act 20. So that Ames Web reporting has been a thorn in the side, but I feel like we finally have kind of a really great next step since NextPath's been really open to collaboration with us, so that's been great. And like Kai mentioned, we all have the same spreadsheet we're using to track internally this year to ensure that all students have the support that they need after our benchmark assessment. We're still adjusting, I think, to the new norming that happened within Ames Web Plus. I know a lot of my, especially 1st and 2nd grade teachers, are just gonna feel nervous for the next year or two, because they feel like, yes, they're at the benchmark, but are they really? Are they gonna end 1st grade proficient and tank when they get to 2nd grade, which I think is a concern every year. We wanna prepare kids for their next step, but I think it's just gonna take us some time to feel settled with those norms, because they still feel new for our teachers. The shift in personal reading plan development, we used EduClimber last year, and then we transitioned to NextPath. I think all of us said it felt smoother this winter. It felt like it wasn't as big of a lift. Teachers are becoming more familiar with that data warehouse system, and kind of now that we have the parent communication piece of that figured out too, we've been able to answer questions and help parents problem solve a little bit easier than I think we felt ready to do in the fall. So that just feels like it's gonna continue to progress and get refined. And then the growth Kate mentioned, we kind of finally figured out how we're measuring that. That's been an obstacle, is like, we know growth is really important. What's our number to measure that? So we've leaned into using both the rate of improvement, that's that collaboration with NextPath, but mainly as of right now, the student growth percentile, for us to say, are they exceeding the growth goals that we've set, that Ames Web has given us? And so we have targets that teachers can look at within the reports for now, as we continue to work more on that rate of improvement being usable information. I think that's what we got. What questions you got?
First off, I love it when the 4 of you are up here talking about this stuff, because
We do too.
you're really bright, you're really informative, And it helps us understand what you're doing and those kinds of things. Well, I think I say this typically every time we talk about it, but I'm glad that you help us understand that it's not all about aggregated data. So we can show progress with aggregated data, but we can be leaving a lot of people behind because we decide they take too much work. So you've constantly, I think, helped us identify the fact that you're trying to keep track of everybody out here, not just move our data up, but we're really after everybody, and we're using the data to help. High tide raises all ships. I guess, since we've got you here, this is just your expertise, so let's fast forward next year, this time, this board meeting, and maybe you're doing a similar presentation, and you really feel that what the progress you've made on this science of reading is gonna be sustainable, and that you're gonna be feeling good about it next year at this time, and that, what are your thoughts where we are with this?
Well, we've been talking a little bit about that because the 3 elementaries were looking at a potential new math resource for next year, and my biggest caution was holy cow teacher capacity, because that's such a big lift, especially when we add in the science-based reading instruction and we add in Act 20. But I'll tell you that I think our teachers feel really good about things, which to me feels great. I think our data is showing that people have responded to that training. We're still working to try and make sure they see the connection between the required training and the materials. That's just continued professional conversations that we're having. But I think people, last year, as an example, we used an in-service day from a weather day to talk about why small group phonics is important. That's how Collaborative Literacy's resource is built, because we saw some resistance from that, and I see none now. I think teachers have really started to understand why the resource is built the way it is. They see how science-based reading instruction is integrated, so it doesn't feel, it feels like the default now when I don't think it was before. And so I think we're always going to have kids that need layers of support, and sometimes there's puzzles where you go, why is this support not working? I swear we're giving this kid everything we have. But I think systemically we're at a point where teachers have bought in to this and aren't willing to cash out. They are invested, they see it working in classrooms, and I think we've got better systems to ensure that we don't let kids fall behind. That really feels like it's been refined through all of this work.
And I think teachers are just constantly improving their own systems. So like our kindergarten team, like just is constantly looking at like, how could we use this 5 minutes? And what about these kids that aren't in a set yet? And they're swapping kids at certain times if that makes more sense. I just think they're really motivated. Like this data and this accountability has been just like motivating, and our K2 teams are learning from each other. During BLT, they'll say, I didn't know you guys were getting all kids in sets by the end of the semester. We need to figure out how we can also do that, even in different grade levels. So I think just the conversation around instruction has been really rich, too. So I think it's felt good.
And I would say, just to kind of zoom in on what you were mentioning about our data just kind of moving, but like, I meet with each of my staff for a mid-year check-in. We check in on their goals, like how's the year going, et cetera. And one of the things that I've noticed this year is how the teachers know exactly how their kids read. They can tell you the high frequency words that each child don't know. They can tell you the ones that they're really good at, and they can tell you whether they had to move them up or move them back in a set because they just weren't quite ready, but the other kids in that group were. And asking them, what's the best thing about this year? And almost every single one said, I'm so confident in my reading instruction. So the personalized level that our teachers know about their readers is unlike what I've experienced before. So they're really digging in and they know all their kids and how they read, so it's great.
Very similar. I think we probably had the least of a lift just because Montessori curriculum doesn't change. So, but the added resource of using UFly as kind of that layer of intervention within the classrooms was new. And so I think it validated a lot of what our teachers already knew, but put it into a system that tracked data and showed some accountability for that they actually kind of rose to that and are confident and happy, and you can see that. Mid-year checks this year were a whole different ballpark than last year. Just, it was a lot of overwhelm last year, just with kind of blending the two for us, and I feel like this year they're like, yep, we've got this, let's move on to math. And our scores showed that, so I feel confident that this was actually as much as a heavy lift this was for everybody to get through Act 20 and kind of really dig into this WIG. It's been beneficial for kids.
Great. That's great. I'm glad that you were able to find a strategy to deal with the deficiencies of Ames Web Plus. We have that, correct me if I'm wrong, because the state's required us to do it, right?
It's a statewide requirement, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Even though it doesn't have all the data that we would certainly like to be able to have to use it effectively. It's too bad, but I'm glad you, NextPath, that's what you're able to use for it. Good.
Yeah, essentially the Ames Web data comes into NextPath and we're able to customize NextPath to calculate what we need it to calculate, which Ames Web reporting does not calculate. So we're not putting any different data into NextPath, it's just how NextPath calculates and presents the data to our teachers, so it's a more usable format, yeah.
Which is why we have data.
Which is what Ames
So-
Web should do.
Exactly.
I'll just say it out loud. Say it out loud.
Well, thank you for your work and for having such a clear sense of what's happening in your buildings and the way that you're supporting your teachers. So, thank you very much.
It's also
Thank
not
you.
missed on any of us that you four appear to work very well together.
That's for sure.
And everybody's on the same page, so that's
Trying to
important.
convince Dave to let us go on an admin retreat, just the four of us.
Yeah.
For that presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Mark, you are up with yours for student services.
Fantastic. Well, I don't have three colleagues to
Do you
share
want me to
with
stand by
you.
you, Mark?
Very
well. So you're not so lonely.
Yes, thank you. Well, by the way the calendar worked, I know I just talked to you, I think 7 weeks ago. So this is going to be a little bit quicker because I think I spoke a fair amount the last time around. But we do have some mid-year data that I wanted to share, and I wanted to share some exciting things that have happened kind of at the last 2 PD days that we've had, related to, in particular, the job-alike work that some of the staff are doing. So just by way of reminder. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate it. Our special education WIG, which again, for special education staff, they're working on the special education WIG. But they're also a very important part of the various building level WIGs that our buildings are working on. So everything that the elementary principals just shared about, obviously our special education folks are a very important part of that as well. We just have kind of an additional added layer related to special education. So our goal, our WIG in special ed, is that 80% of special education students would either show above average growth, which again is defined as that student growth percentile of 50 or greater, or show proficiency on the universal screeners that they are taking. So that is our special education WIG. Amanda, could you roll it? So this is essentially our data for basically the winter data set. When you look from the two columns, those aren't necessarily apples to apples numbers you can compare, because the first one is really just proficiency, and the second one is kind of combined proficiency or meeting that growth goal when you look at the fall to winter student growth percentile. So you can see that kind of our numbers there are 86%, 74, 76, and so on. As far as going down, I did include the number of students in each of those categories. So you can see that when you kind of factor in growth along with the proficiency level, you can see that our students are showing some nice movement there. Seeing a little bit of a lower number when it comes to first and second grade, and I think if that pattern continues to hold, that will be worth some further explanation or examination as far as kind of what some of the tools that we are looking at and our interventions that we're using at that level. But those are some things that the data shows, at least at this first kind of data point. You'll also recall that last year we had kind of we had Ames Web for K2, and then we switched over to FastBridge for kind of the middle tier. This year, at least, we're using all the same tool. So even though it does have its problems, it's at least a consistent tool, K5, which I think is a nice thing that we have. So again, those are kind of our numbers as far as proficiency and growth at this winter kind of benchmark. And then moving on to the high school and the middle school, you can see the numbers there as far as the students that met their fall to winter growth goal. Middle school really showed some really nice scores there. We're really excited about that, and we want to kind of keep watching that and see if that kind of place continues. So that's just kind of our mid-year data piece. Some really exciting things I think are happening as far as some of our lead measures. And I think the main lead measures that we're looking at in special education are really around collaboration, around job-alike groups. So really spending some time as, you know, a group of elementary folks who are really focused in on kind of the academic piece or maybe the behavioral piece, and really working together to identify across our buildings what's working well so that we can replicate that. So some things that we've done kind of in our job-alike meetings at the elementary level, Ashley, I think, had mentioned some of the Next Path reports. All of our case managers now, at a click of the button, can see all of their caseload and their reading data and their attendance data and the whole works as far as their proficiency, their growth levels. It's really a very nice tool to be able at a click of a button, see your entire caseload, whereas before you might have to drill down into each individual student, pull out a piece of paper, jot some things down in a notebook. Now you can just see it all at one click. It's really very efficient, and it really allows some nice use of that. So at one of their last job-alike PLC meetings, I gave them some guiding questions, you know, identifying the kids who might be below proficiency and showing below average growth. Those are clearly the students we need to look at, really brainstorm on, okay, what can we maybe do differently for those types of students to really kind of bump up their growth. And so at our last job-alike PLC, the elementary folks kind of took some time to look at those students and look at those numbers. At our last PD in August, the high school team, and I'm going to steal a kid's thunder for next month a little bit as well, but the high school teams have been doing a lot of work visiting a variety of area high schools. And for a couple different reasons. One, to just look at the special education service delivery model, as well as just how they organize their Wisconsin multi-layered systems of support approach. And so really, we spent the last PD day at the high school just talking with all the high school special education teachers about what are some things that you observed at these site visits that seemed like they were working really well? What are some things that might not have been working well that we should avoid? And then just trying to figure, like, based on our logistics, based on our system, what are some things that we can enter into our programming and make some positive changes? So we had a lot of really good discussions around that. At the middle school level, we got I think the 4 primary CrossCat teachers together who kind of deliver academic instruction. We had a really good conversation about some of the pilot interventions that we've had, what seems to be working well, trying to identify, kind of looking ahead to next year, what a common foundation can be kind of across all of our grade levels so we have a kind of consistent system for all students. So we had some really nice job-alike conversations that I was really excited to hear, and I think that will really help continue drive some ongoing improvement as far as that goes. So again, kind of the lead measure, I think the main one is really that job-alike piece, using data and looking at growth along with proficiency to see what we're doing that's working and what that we are doing that needs a little bit of adjustment. So I know that was really, really fast. But again, you heard from me 6 weeks ago. So any questions around some of the things that we're working on in special education?
Thanks, Mark.
No, thank you. An observation, though, you have many, many, many teachers and departments and students to work with.
Yeah.
So you have to know what's going on in kindergarten all the way up through. It's a lot. Thank you. All right.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, so we are done with that, and now, Lynette, you have a 2025-26 budget update for us, please?
We do, and I
Thank
think
you.
Amanda's going to bring it up on the screen as well.
Okay.
So, in the regular months, this report is taken to the Finance and Facilities Committee, and then we do a quick review at the board meeting. This month, we did not have a finance meeting, so I'll go through what I normally would do at the finance meeting. So the reports that we have are the revenue, a couple pages of revenue reports for each fund, expense reports, and then our fund balance. So I'm going to start with the first page of our revenue, Fund 10, and just looking at that top line, which is our property tax. So just a reminder, we've gone over this many times, but I like to repeat myself just as good reminders. So property tax, obviously, one of our biggest sources of revenue, and you can see through the end of December, because these reports go through the end of December, we have not received any tax monies as of yet. So they'll start to come in January and February, and then we book in the settlement that we receive in August. And then going down to some of the other big sources of revenue. So if you look at the source 345, that's our open enrollment. So that gets settled in June. And then if you scroll down a little bit to source 621, that's our state equalization aid. And we get 4 payments throughout the year for that, another one of our largest sources of revenue. And then another one is our source 691, which is our per pupil aid. I'm sorry, 695 per pupil aid. Again, a large source of revenue, and that comes in March. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because you can see total revenue for Fund 10 is 9.3 million. And when we're going to get to the expenses, our expenses for operating right now in Fund 10 or through December are 16 million. So just another reminder that that's one of the reasons why we carry a fund balance and all of that to avoid the short-term borrowing, to be able to meet our financial obligations. So that's Fund 10. If we skip down a little bit, still on revenue, to the bottom of that first page of Fund 27, and we have repeated this several times over the last couple of months. I want to point out again that source 611, which is our special education aid. And if you recall, when the state budget was passed, it was a big celebration that districts were going to see a big increase in that aid reimbursement of 42% this year and 45% next year. We receive these payments throughout the year. There's 4 of them. Actually, I think there's 7 of the special ed aid payments. The first payment we received was prorated at 35%. So again, we have spoken probably ad nauseum about this in our finance meetings. It was a big disappointment and a little bit of a surprise to many districts. We always budget a little less than what the state sort of expects to be able to reimburse at, but we weren't expecting that much of a shortage. However, there are discussions going on right now to perhaps push the state to use some of the surplus to meet what they were celebrating for a percentage reimbursement. So we're keeping our ears tuned to that and see where that goes.
Right to people.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Can you remind me, Lynette, what was the percentage last year? Was it 30?
Last year, so last year they were hoping to meet 33%, and it was just above 30%.
30%.
Close to 31%.
And now it's looking like, so far, 35%?
Those are the proration payments we will
Yeah.
receive until something changes at the state or until that final payment. That's when they sort of balance everything and true it up.
And it didn't sound today out of Madison like there was going to be anything happening before a break.
Right.
That maybe it would be a special session. Is that true?
So we'll
Maybe.
stay tuned, but right now that's kind of what we're expecting, is that 35%, maybe a little bit more than that until we know more.
Yeah.
Speaker Boss was making some noise today, like, sounds to me like he really wants to deal. And I think the governor really wants to deal, but they've got to get their caucuses online. So maybe there'll be some settlement on this. I'm not gonna get too optimistic, but it appears that it's, even though the session is over, that the potential that this will get plugged in some way, at least backfilled a little bit, is still out there. Hope is alive. With that, I think, because it's a public meeting, we're doing this detail. I think it really is a surprise to some people when I talk to them about the fact that we get our money in chunks, but we have to make payroll every 2 weeks. And we have expenses going on all during the year. So this is why, as you said, we need fund balance and watch this. And with all the best information we had last fall, when the state said they were gonna give us over 40% special ed reimbursement, and then they come through, and we didn't count on more than 40%, tried to be conservative on it. They're even lower than where our conservative estimate was. Those are the kinds of things we have to deal with on an ongoing basis here. And I don't think that's obvious to a lot of people, because this is a little bit complicated and head scratching, because it doesn't always work the way you think you're personal finances would work, so. Anyway, thank you for your work on that. This is helpful.
Just a couple of quick notes, actually, one I already mentioned, if we scroll to expenses, that first page again, the Fund 10 expenses are at just over 16 million. And then again, Fund 27, and both of those are really our main operating costs. That is also, the expenses are 3.1 million, and we've received about 750 in revenue there. So when you combine the two, again, just hammering that point that we're always ahead in expenses and kind of behind in collecting our revenues throughout the year, so. And on the second page, the final comment, just reminding folks that Fund 49, that is what's called our construction account. That is our referendum projects that we're continuing to complete and pay down for those projects. It's Fund 49. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you, Lynette, very much. Okay, we do not have our students here tonight, so we're going to move on to the superintendent's report.
All right. So last Friday, the 13th, we had a special set of visitors. The state superintendent of schools, Dr. Jill Underly, visited our district. And the visit provided the opportunity for us to share programs and partnerships that we're really proud of within the district. And probably the hardest thing that we had to do is figure out how to get it all done in an hour and a half, because that was the window of time that we had. We would have loved to spend the whole day taking Dr. Underly and two of her deputy superintendents around and showing them the school district, because there's a lot of things that we're proud of. So in the short time that we had with Dr. Underly, we were able to highlight a couple of big areas. The first is the variety of career and technical education programming opportunities that our students have at River Falls High School and Renaissance Charter Academy. And then our visitors were able to observe a character education assembly at Westside Elementary, which was co-led by students and included a special visit from the UWR football team. So I'm going to use the pictures there. If you could go back one, I just wanted to highlight a few people. One more.
Sorry.
That's okay. You were guessing what I was doing.
You're talking about
Yeah,
West Side, so I
it's all good. It's all good. That was like my intro. You were adapting well, though.
Okay,
So in the
thank you.
upper left there, that's Kelsey and Naylene, and they were our student media, so they followed us and took pictures, and they just did an amazing job. Also video, and they were a lot of fun and had a good opportunity to interact as well. And then a few of those pictures there are some of our students highlighting their career and technical ed work. So the next picture over, that's Nora, who did a capstone project in welding, and she's showing off the benches that she completed, and they were quite amazing. You can't see it there, but there's actually the United States flag that's what the bench is.
And she designed the whole thing.
And she designed the whole
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. And then next is Jaden. Jaden's a student at Renaissance Charter Academy, and he's giving Dr. Underly a gift, which is a cribbage board that they manufactured, and the cribbage board actually has the DPI logo within it. Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
That's really
It was pretty sweet. So that was exciting. And then next, we have Molly and Trevin in the lower left there. They are two of our students that participate in youth apprenticeship. Molly she's a level 2 CNA, and Trevin does welding for his manufacturing apprenticeship. So that was really fun for them to share. I'm not sure what that middle one is. It must be some type of entrepreneurship, but I'm not quite sure. And then that's the rest of the group there. Moving to the next slide, that is Mr. Weiss. He's one of our Renaissance Charter Academy teachers, and he's sharing prosthetic that the entrepreneur and technical ed course at Renaissance Charter Academy is designing using some of our 3D printers. And the neat thing is when they've connected with a company, and that company provides low-cost prosthetics, and they partner with school districts and schools to help support with the designing of that. And we're one of the few schools in this whole area that is able to do that. And when I say schools, I just mean Renaissance Charter Academy. And the cool thing about it is our kids get to learn how to design them, and it's a very inexpensive way for someone who needs a prosthetic who's growing, so that prosthetic is only maybe for a short period of time. So we were really excited to share that, and I know we'll probably spend some more time sharing that with the school board as well. And we were just able to highlight why we have Renaissance Charter Academy, how it works with the high school, but also creates a new set of opportunities for our students. And then next, just a few more of our career and technical ed students. On the left there, that's Isabel. She is part of our business CTE courses, and she helps run Wiley's. So they had their drinks of the day available for our guests as well, which was kind of fun. And she talked about her experience. And then that is Elle. Elle talked about our robotics program and our robotics course. And that's our robot. And I know this group is very familiar with the robotics class. And this is where they are at now, and then they'll start competition as we move through, and then some other highlights. And then moving forward, I chatted about West Side. So this is the West Side assembly that we were able to participate in the upper left. That's our fourth grade students who did a reader's theater, which was really fun to listen to. They basically went through and through that reader's theater highlighted some of the character traits, specifically cooperation and perseverance, and they did a really good job. And it was really fun for our guests just to see what an assembly actually looks like instead of us telling them the things that we do for character ed. All the stresses that go with an elementary level assembly. But it was awesome. It was awesome. And then the final piece of the puzzle was not because our visitors were there, but just because that was what had been planned. We had some awesome community members that also happened to be UWRF football players come, and they brought their new national championship trophy. I don't think that one football player ever let go of it. I think he was like, that was his job.
We did because staff have pictures because he left it in one of the workrooms.
Oh, did he?
Like 40 selfies.
Oh, funny.
Not
It'll be interesting to see if he gets to carry it at the next visit. But it was really cool, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of those players did a really awesome job in front of the entire West Side School, talking about how perseverance and cooperation fit into the way that they were to have success as teammates, but also overall in life. It was really good. It was a very, very fun day. It was also like a record high warmth. It was just like, everything's great. Now it's 0 degrees again. You know? But anyways, it was very fun to highlight for our visitors some of the awesome stuff that we do here at River Falls.
It was pretty awesome to listen to all the West Siders sing their school song too.
Yes.
There was something just so honest and authentic about it.
Yeah.
It was just great.
So it was a really good day and fun to highlight and also to share with decision makers in Madison some of the great things that we do and the support that we need.
I think this also gives us a better entree in future communication with the DPI, because that was the whole leadership team. That was her and her 2 chief deputies who were here. Those were the 3 people, so.
And thank you, Alan. I know you were important in getting that set up, and we appreciate that.
They seemed really honest when they said they were very impressed.
You say that about the district.
They maybe do, but I think they meant it about us.
That's right.
All right, everybody, we are going to move on to the consent agenda. At this point, does any board member have anything that he or she would like to remove? All right, then we have before us the January 19th meeting, minutes of the minutes of the January 19th meeting. We have bills that have been submitted for payment, as well as employment recommendations. We also have second readings of all of the Neola policies that are listed on the board agenda, as well as the first readings. Those would be second readings, and then we have another batch of first readings of Neola policies. Is there a motion to approve minutes, bills, and employment and Neola policies as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Monica. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, the Ad hoc Policy Committee met on February 2nd, and we went through more policies. We actually have 3 very similar policies that we are going to adopt through one motion, but Dave is going to highlight an important part of this policy before we take the motion.
Yeah, so there's really only one update that comes from ad hoc where we've made some adjustments from ad hoc till now. And it pertains to the same language that lives in 3 separate policies, and it's our student supervision and welfare policy that exists in the support staff survey. That's the 4,000s. In the professional staff series, the 3,000s, and the administration series, the 1,200s. Or the thousands, actually. And so basically, we've had conversations about this policy 3 different times, each time it came up. And one of the pieces that we were kind of stuck on was letter K or L, depending on which policy you were in. And so what we did is over time, we've talked to admin and really looked for a way to have a recommendation that strikes the balance of, that's very clear with what our expectations are, that allows for important communication that has to happen between our students and staff, but that's only through district-approved pathways. That was really kind of the purpose of what we were trying to work with. And we wanted to make sure that it was clear for everybody. So I'm going to read letter K. This is where we arrived at, and it represents an adjustment from what was talked about at ad hoc. So in the scope of their employment, support staff, insert admin, insert professional staff, depending on which policy we're talking about, are authorized to communicate with students through district email and through the use of district-approved notification applications, otherwise known as apps. Examples of notification apps include but are not limited to Remind, TeamSnap, and SportsU. The activities director, high school principal, and middle school principal have the authority to approve notification apps for district use. Texting or communicating with students from a device using any other method is prohibited. So the main source of communicating back and forth obviously is email, but there is functions where apps, notification apps can be used, but we wanted to make sure that the apps that are being used in that context have been screened and approved for district use. So that is where we landed. We've had conversations with especially our activities director because this is a time where students and staff have to have quick communication and updates, and he understands it and will make the adjustments as this is updated, as well as all of our administration, to make sure that we're in alignment to this expectation.
It's doable.
It is. It is doable. It does require 2 things. An extra step that maybe could be construed as taking a little bit more time.
Yep.
And it has the assumption that our students are going to be checking these notification systems. And I think that's the other piece that can be tricky sometimes. Because students don't always do on the timeline that we need them, exactly what we want them to do. So there'll hopefully be some learning lessons associated with it.
And is there something in the policy, maybe it was in a different part about, okay, well, yes, this person is my student, I'm a teacher, whatever,
Yeah.
but I also live next door to this student is my son's friend, and I give him a ride to school.
Yeah. In the language we added there is in the scope of their responsibilities, right? So.
Oh, in the scope of their responsibility, that's right.
That's how we accomplished what you're
Yeah,
asking.
okay.
Because, like you said, I might give a child a ride home, I might,
Text a
my kids are old now, but when I used to need a babysitter, right? I would text you potentially, but that's not in the scope of my responsibilities.
In the scope of their responsibilities. Okay.
So is there a motion to approve the first reading of these 3 Neola policies related to student supervision and welfare? The first one will be 4213 for support staff members, 3213 for professional staff, and then 1213 administrative staff.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Lindsay. Thank you, Allison. Any questions or comments? I think the committee talked a lot about that we aren't eager to add frustration or layers of work on people who need this, but in the end, with admin support, it was a concern about protecting kids and adults.
staff.
And adults, yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Alan, Education Program.
Yeah, the Education Program Committee met on February 9th, and we basically had 2 issues that we were dealing with. One is we do this annually, right, the contracts? These are annually, right, Dave?
That has been our practice, correct, yep.
For our River Falls 4-year-old kindergarten contracts that we have with local organizations here. There's a few school districts in the state that their 4-year-old kindergarten is just part of the district, and it's, all the teachers are employed by the district, and that, in River Falls, we have a variety of different groups who do this for us, and we contract with them, and it works out well with parents who have other daycare responsibilities, and there's a variety of options for parents here. So, but each year that contract has to be discussed, laid out, agreed to, and signed. So the new contract, there were a few changes in it, the per pupil amounts and those kinds of things. We discussed that at length and approved it. So I would move that we approve the River Falls for Children contract as approved by the committee and presented in the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Allison. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
The other thing we had is, these are kind of fun to listen to, is we had one of our teachers, who JV was in front of us to talk about a trip in June of 2028 for high school students to go to Eastern Europe. And part of the reason it's so far out, a couple of years out, is that it gives them time to plan, but more importantly, to raise money for the trip. And this is a really unique trip to Eastern Europe, and I think it could be really educational. It sounds exciting, but these kinds of trips need to be approved by the school board. So the committee discussed it, we talked about it at length with him, the committee approved it, and I would move again tonight that we approve the trip contract application as approved by the committee.
Thank you, Ellen. Is there a second? Thank you, Monica. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, the Personnel Committee met on February 9th. It was a full agenda. One of the things that we did was we heard a staffing update. And then Nate provided information to us about the mid-year check-in meetings that he has with staff, which are really important ways that he's able to keep his finger on the pulse of the district, of knowing what's going on and how people potentially need support. It's really important. We also discussed and recommend that the board approve the phase 1 of the staffing plan. It always seems as if there are calendars to come before us because we recommend that the board adopt the 2027-28 calendar, and then we went back and set the important dates for 26-27. And one of the things that we need to do before we begin negotiations is we need to approve sending the letter that we are commencing negotiations for contracts. Anything you want to add?
I would like to just speak very briefly about our staffing plan.
Sure.
We're calling this phase 1 of the staffing plan, although we're not anticipating a phase 2 coming along. And just for the people who might be listening at home, the ads that we have this year are all due to special education needs. Superintendent Bell has talked about how our enrollment in the area of special ed has grown 13% in the last several years, and we are obligated by law to ensure that we're meeting the needs of those students, so that's why we have these ads. We have 5 positions. In total, those 5 positions are 2.5 FTE. We'll post those shortly so that we can have the best chance at the highest quality candidates that are out there, because we know there aren't a ton of special ed teachers available. One of the positions, we're still monitoring the number of students that are rolling in, so we're going to hold on that, and we're seeking your approval tonight, but it may be that we don't need to post for that eventually.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that we have just as good fortune this year with your advice to get it done early. The committee did go into closed session, and we discussed the 2026-27 contract negotiation meetings. We looked at data from a compensation study. They put together a lot of data for us, and we also discussed potential non-renewals. In the closed session tonight, we're going to be looking at a staff reduction plan. So at this point, I will move to approve the 2026-27 staffing plan phase 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. I will also move that we approve the 2027-28 school year calendar as well as the 2026-27 school year calendar important dates. Those 2 motions. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Monica. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. And then I move that we approve the commencement of contract negotiations. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Allison. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, everybody, it is the board self-evaluation review. This is one of our responsibilities that we do on an annual basis. In preparation for our conversation tonight, we each completed a board assessment tool, and 12 members of the administrative team also responded to the same questions. So, I noticed a few things that I thought I would highlight, but first I thought I would see what you all noticed and that would like to bring to the board. Overall comments, as well as we should keep doing this, and maybe we need to do some more of something else. What did you notice?
I think collectively, people take a lot of pride in the functionality of this group and the relationship we have with the administrative team that is appropriate, respectful, and professional.
I think we should be proud of that.
Yep.
It helps us to do the district's work really effectively.
Yep.
Yeah, I think generally my take on this is we continue to kind of be on the same page, both our assessment of our work and the administrator's assessment of our work. And there's some people that might say, well, you know, maybe you need some differences of opinion on there. I think we have enough differences of opinion, they're just not obvious, because unlike some governmental bodies, we don't yell at each other and disagree in those sorts of ways. We're a very diverse group, and we work together and we work through our issues and come to some agreement. That, by operating that way, it helps the administration understand what they can and should and shouldn't bring to the board, and how they bring it to the board, and how they can get feedback, and how we can work together on that. I know being on the board of directors, the WASB board of directors, there's 421 school districts in the state, and they all kind of do this a little bit differently. But that's one of the fundamental things that WASB talks about is boards need to work together and get along. They don't always have to be 7-0 on their votes, but they need to be respectful and work collegially. And I think the survey says that we're all kind of on the same page that way. Hopefully close to it, so.
It appears to me that one of the things that we'll want to do is to continue to make sure that we are aligning our finances to our strategic plan. And that will be something that we'll keep really in very clear focus as we get into our next strategic planning process. One of the comments highlighted something that Dave and I have already been talking about, and that's that at our board retreat, we are planning to have a discussion about next year when we are done with the policy ad hoc committee, how are we going to manage our committees to make sure that we have enough time and discussion for board issues. The other thing I noticed is, it appears as if we can never, ever communicate too much. So that they're always looking for other ways to communicate with the community.
I like this one. The question was, effective school boards engage in planning that includes proactive communications and feedback. And one comment is, we need to keep working on this, and the other one, this is fully achieved. So everybody has a different lens on communication.
Well, and the distinction between fully achieved and mostly achieved is really complicated, because sometimes you can never fully achieve it. We are constantly, always working toward that. So it could be a calibration issue on that too.
Just from a process standpoint, I think I made this point last time, but I really appreciate the comments, the ability to, and the insistence that we comment on why we're scoring what we're scoring. And feel the opposite.
I was gonna say, I have to comment on everything? Maybe that's
And also, I very much appreciated reading the administrative feedback and the comments that were left by our administrative team. It's, again, just a testament to our ability to share open and honest and be transparent with each other, that we're a team and we need to be working collaboratively and honestly, and ensuring that we're on the same page. So
And
thank you.
there's one thing about data, they think we're doing a better job than we think
Than we think we are. I thought I saw that too, yeah.
I appreciate the fact that we have administrators who are comfortable being frank in these assessments as well, with comments and things that they're talking about. It's important. Again, one of the asides is, and I often say this when we're working with new board members in this region that I work with, is if your board is divided, it's close, because we have elections every spring, your board can change very quickly, and that makes long-term planning, strategic planning, administrative confidence in where they can take it, less predictable. So as a result, if we're not kind of getting along and making sure that we're all headed in the same direction, talking to each other, that puts the district a bit at risk, because we can't do as good a planning. There's not as much trust, we can't count on this. And it also makes it harder, I think, to recruit teachers and staff, because they need to know where the district is going. If I'm gonna be a teacher, and often teachers commit their whole career to one district, they wanna be with a district that's not gonna be flopping back and forth and in disagreement and all of that. There's a standard phrase at the WSB board, is that what happens in the boardroom happens in the classroom, and if we can't get along and work productively, it's gonna be harder for our teachers to do that, and it's gonna affect our kids. So I appreciate the fact that you're a good group to work with, and the fact that we have such a talented team of administrators that work well with us, and we can be frank with each other and talk through things before they become a conflict.
Yeah, one thing, I don't know, just for the sake of conversation, I think that our administrative team is so transparent and shares so much that it's very easy for us in committee meetings and at the board level to get into operations more than we need or should be into operations. And sometimes you think, like, you get home and you think, well, how did we go that deep on that? This is an operational issue. We're a governing board. And then, two, just making sure that we have the conversations and that we put the different perspectives on the table at the board meeting where it is videotaped and people are watching it, so they see that different perspectives are. We've probably talked about them at a committee meeting, but when we give the reports, to make sure that we're saying, here's the diversity of opinions, because we do have diverse opinions, that the public appreciates them.
You know, one of the things that struck me again tonight is the fact that we do these presentations every board meeting. And I don't know if most board members, most boards don't do that in the state, but I think it's not common for that to be a regular feature of board meetings. Not in the way we do it, because we had several tonight, and we do it at committee meetings and all of that. And of course, the good side to that is it makes a better informed board. We have more confidence in what's going on, and we have more than just, we had all four principals here. We could have just had Amy or Mary Beth just say, the reports are looking pretty good. They're all on track in their wigs and moving ahead. This gives us a chance to know and hear those principals, get to know them a little better, so that we have more confidence in what they're doing. So I think that's part of it. The other is just then they get to know us too, and what should we be asking for. So when you have your administrative meetings and you're talking about budgets and other kinds of things, there isn't this, well, we don't know quite what the board's gonna do or not. Because you hear us all the time, and you kind of know what we're thinking and what you might want to ask us about or present to us or those kinds of things. So.
It did occur to me in reading through the administrative comments, a couple folks commented on their appreciation in the effort we've made to get into our buildings and to spend some time on the ground. And to your point, we're a governing board, right? We try to stay at that 30,000 foot level, but I really do think there's value in us spending time on that ground level, in the walls of our schools, not so we can meddle in the operational things that are happening, but just so we have a good understanding and awareness, right, of the policies that we're setting. What does that look like, day to day? And of course, the relationship building that comes from that as well. So I think that's a positive thing that we've put into place.
And it's nice that we're doing it consistently in all of them, so it's predictable.
Should we just kind
Do
of
you
go in a
guys wanna say
circle and
anything?
pat each other on the back?
Well, I think just the fact that we carve out time annually to assess this and reset is a really important thing to do, especially because the board there is going to be times when there's not the same 7 board members, so this becoming an annual event where there's an understanding. And some of when you take a survey is that building of, this is this is the important work of the board. If one of those you read through and you're like, we don't ever address this piece, I think that's a good opportunity to lean back in. And then finding times, because our board meetings are somewhat regimented month over month, so finding time, whether it's through our board retreat process or through strategic planning to make sure we step back and say, are we headed in the right direction? Are we not just like working to get to, okay, we got done with February, now what's March, but some of that bigger picture direction work of the board. And so I appreciate the opportunity to work with a board that thinks in both of those realms, right? What do we need to accomplish this month and next month, but also what are we looking towards and what are we working towards? And how that connects to students, which is really important.
I would say one more thing too, that this wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the patient and friendly reminders that Amanda sends out. That's right.
Thank you, Amanda.
I
I liked it when it got to, I know one of you hasn't filled it out.
We won't bring that up.
We can share that later, the details on that one.
It was me.
Oh, you didn't
It was me.
confess.
It wasn't.
Totally
wasn't
blame
just
it
you.
on my new library opening.
That's right.
And next year, I'm gonna be like
Oh, you're
the
busy.
first person.
That's right.
So, it's totally a one-off.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything worked out just fine.
That's good.
So,
Anything else?
no, this is great. Thank you.
Yep, I'm proud to serve on this board with all of you. All right, any proposed or suggested items for future agendas? Then we're going to schedule meetings. The Policy Ad Hoc Committee will meet Monday, March 2nd at 6 o'clock. Finance and Facilities will meet Monday, March 9th at 6. Personnel will meet Monday, March 9th at 7 or immediately following Finance and Facilities. The next regular board meeting will be Monday, March 23rd at 6 o'clock. All of those meetings will be held here in the district office. And as you know, I have to read this. So is there a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 1985-1C, which permits convening into closed session for the purpose of considering the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 1985-1E, which permits convening into closed session for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. So we are going into closed session this evening for the purpose of discussing the 2026-27 contract negotiation meetings, the potential non-renewals, as well as the potential budget reductions. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Allison. I will need a roll call.
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Bo, Allison,
Yes.
Lindsay, Mike.
Yes.
I'm saying yes. Alan?
Yes.
Yes. All right, we are going to be in closed session. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay, I might need a picture.
Do you need a picture?